All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So last week I made a video on the best grind spots for silver, and today I wanted to expand on that, and we're going to be talking about the best places to grind for silver with Agris, and then part 3 will be best spots to grind for XP. I wish I could do it all in one, but that would literally be like a 2-hour video, so that's why we're breaking up into multiple parts. So the way we do this is, if you are new and you've never seen the previous version, check the link in the description and I'll catch you up on that one. But the way we do this is we go down by ascending order. So whether you're a new player or a veteran player, or you're just trying to look at a specific AP point, I'm going down the list. I'll have timestamps in the description and all that stuff. So I'll make it easier for all of you guys. Hopefully it helps. But with that said, best spots to grind for Agris. This is out of the best of my knowledge over like a year of grinding, and I would say I have a good experience with most of the spots, and I've grinded, I would say, about 99% of the spots in the last year. So with that said, we're gonna start at the 130 AP spot, simply because if you're like a new player or you're in seasons, you probably don't even have Agris unlocked, and like it's not really worth using at lower ends areas anyway. So I would say these spots are good to use it on, and I'll give you like the top 5 of the best spots for Agris. Another thing you guys could also look at, let's say if you, let me find something. Yeah, if you also hit the tag over here, this is what the game recommends. So I want to do this first because I want to talk about all of these. And let me see, are all these in AP order? No, these are not in AP order. Oh God, I don't think you can like do this in AP. But first of all, let's talk about this one, because these are the ones with the tag. And this is what Pearl Abyss themselves recommend, and I'll give you my experiences and everything. So, with that said, Crescent Shrine. Crescent Shrine, this is the Dehkia version that I would recommend. The default version, you know, just when you go into the desert, not Dehkia, it's not that good. So, I wish they would, you know, say that the Agris one was more specific, but realistically, the Crescent Shrine is the 300 AP spot. Let me just show you. Crescent and Kadri. When we talk about these are the Dehkia version, not the normal ones. So of these two, it's a little bit different, but they're both good spots. I would say if you are grinding like 1 hour, let's say you have 20,000 Agris, right? And you just grind 1 hour a day, I think Crescent Shrine is better, simply because the trash loot is worth a little bit more, and also like you can more or less clear faster. So if you only do 1 hour a day, I think Dehkia Crescents is a lot better than Dehkia Kadri, but I believe they're both very solid spots. One is probably like 1.2 billion an hour, and the other one's like 1.4 billion an hour, assuming you use Agris on both of them. Okay, so with that said, God, hold on. Can I just type that? No, it doesn't. No tag. That's wild. All right, game. All right, anyway, with that said, we talked about Crescents, and then we talked about Kadri. Actually, no, they have both of them. Okay, either way, normal Crescents, not good. Gahaz, I think this is also a good spot for Agris as well. This is more on the lower end of the scale, but both, I believe, regular is fine. And I believe there are like other spots, but this one is fine as well. Centaurs is probably the #1 Agris spot for low to mid-end geared players. So let's say you're like 180 to 240-ish, let's say seasonal gear. This is probably the best spot for Agris. The reason why is because the trash loot is, one, it's worth a lot, and two, it gets multiplied at a scale that's a lot higher than other spots. So for example, let's say you get 1 to 3 trash loot from killing an enemy, right? If you have Agris on, you get like 7 to 14 or something, extremely high at Centaurs. So this does make it one of the higher end spots in general. Schultz, admittedly, I haven't grinded here in like 6 years. Schultz seems like it kind of fell off. However, if they recommend it, I might try it out. It's also a party of 3. I don't think you need a party of 3, but like obviously clear speed helps. So it's one of those things where people ask if they can do a certain grind spot, and I always tell people, being able to do something versus being able to do something effectively or efficiently are two different things. Like, yeah, people could solo Olins, but doing it in a group obviously is better and more effective. So anyway, Histria, this is the normal version. I would say, well, I guess about 2 or 3 years ago when I was going for my compass piece, I was making roughly about 700 to 1 bill an hour using Agris. That was also when Tungrads were like 100 mil each instead of, 40. So in terms of trash loot, the trash loot is solid. And then obviously if you're at Histria, the reason why you're there is going for the Elton compass piece. But aside from that, I think the spot fell off a little bit because scrolls are a little bit down. However, I don't think that's a bad thing. The scrolls being at the lowest point right now is kind of good, actually. So for all of you who can, go enhance and make stuff on your own. Accessory prices fell off, but in terms of trash loot, let's just say you probably get around maybe 20k. I have a lot of videos on it, so you guys can watch that. And obviously, people are more geared. At least 20k an hour, so that's like 400 in trash loot plus all the extra bonuses with Agris stacked and everything. So it fell off a little bit, but it's not the worst thing you could do. And let's be real, the reason why you're there is for the compass part. Same with Ackman. If you were to ask me which one is better of Histria and Ackman, it's always been like this. Histria is straight up better. Trash loot is worth more there. However, if you're doing like guild quests, like let's say you want to kill 2,500 enemies or something, Ackman would be better simply because there's just more enemies there. But Histria is always better for silver. Kratuga. I actually think this is a really good spot. It's one of those things where I would say for beginners that you should go to simply because there's a higher chance of you getting artifacts that you want. And the best way I can describe this spot is like, let's say you were going for, I don't know, a melee AP thing. While there are other spots that could give you like the melee AP, it's a lower rate because you're focusing down a certain artifact. Whereas, let's say you're at Kratuga, you could get like an artifact, one of anything, every like 10 minutes or something. So on average, in a long sample, you are more likely to get the one you want faster than if you were to grind a certain one at another spot. So that's just from my testing and samples. I'm pretty sure I've gotten at least one of everything in the hours I've grinded there. Admittedly, Elcars are not worth much these days. However, I believe the XP is actually pretty solid there. There's also Marnie Rum, and not many people are there. So if you're trying to like just grind in peace without PvP, which I don't really think there's much contesting in grind spots these days. Yeah, I think Kratuga is just like a chill spot overall. And then if you're going for like if you're melting these down for those purified light stones, trying to go for something specific, you can always do that and sell it. So it's not like if you get one and it's useless that it's no money. You can get like 1 or 2 and then you could sell it, so that's still money as well. So that's where silver comes in as well. Tankuda, which is Turos, down in Odalita. Man, do you guys remember when Turos belts were like max price 330, 40 mil? Yeah, that fell off. The reason why people grind normal Tankuda these days is for the embers and stuff for the Fallen God armor. That's about it. So if you are unironically looking for silver from this spot and you just like it, the Dehkia version is a lot better, which I'll talk about that after. So Upper Gyphon, I do believe this is a very solid spot. Then the hardest part, once again, is finding a party of like you plus 4 other people. But like, I don't think anyone does it these days, simply because 1, finding a party is hard. And 2, like, the only thing worth going for these days are Forest Furies. But after that, it's like, you can grind the rest of these stuff elsewhere. But it is good for XP as well, but we'll talk about that in another video. Paddock's Island for Agris. It's good for Agris, but the spot's still not good. So in my limited testing, I would say maybe I have about like 15-20 hours over the past like 2 years. If you're at Paddock's Island, the only reason why you're there is simply for the Rich Merchant Ring piece. These things are irrelevant. These were like solid pieces of gear 6 years ago. You guys can watch my old videos of me slamming red corals for actual gains, and then here we are in 2025. Ocean Haze rings. I believe these are just straight DP gear, and like that got phased out by Karazad, so it wasn't even good when it came out, but now it's extra irrelevant. But yeah, Paddock's Island, not a good spot. It's more for Rich Merchant Ring pieces. Jade Starlight Forest. This is actually a very good spot, actually. Simply because there's a lot of things you're going for here. 1, you're going for the flame for your Labresca helmet. 2, the trash loot, kind of like Centaurs, gets multiplied very highly. So the amount of silver from trash loot you're making an hour is very good. And the off chance you get like an iridescent and Forgotten Witches token, these are extremely valuable. I have about maybe like 100 hours in here when I was going for my Labresca helmet when this came out. Iridescent Lightstones, they are not common, but I've gotten probably around like 5 or 6 of them. So it's probably one every like 15-20 hours on average, which doesn't sound that great, but like it's a nice billion silver bonus when you do get one. Artifacts are relevant, but if you get the flame, always nice. And then the iridescent lightstone, but the trash is also good for, you know, the hour as well. So I think this is probably up there in the top 5 grind spots. Olins. Oh boy. Olins is a very good spot. All 3 of them. Olins 1, Olins Dehkia, or normal Olins, Dehkia 1, and Dehkia 2 Olins. They are all very good spots. The hardest part is finding other competent geared players that, you know, can do this efficiently. So yeah, I would recommend, if you are in a guild, just grind with your guildies, because there is an Olins Discord out there, and you know, like they kind of want specific classes. So if you're not a Shy, if you're not like a striker or a meta DPS class, yeah, it's gonna be harder. So if you don't care about min-maxing, but you're just going for like a Rich Merchant Ring piece or something, just grind with your guildies or something. Or I've actually been wanting to go back to Olin, so just join the Discord, and every now and then I'll post if I want to go grind there. And if you are at least 290 AP, let's go. So yeah, Kadri and Crescents, we talked about this in the beginning. I truly think that the Agris works better for the Dehkia ones, whereas I know it recommended Crescents for the default one. I just wouldn't go there, to be honest. Yzrahid Highlands, this is a very solid spot. It's not 2 bill an hour like it used to be, but it is really nice. If you get a flame, that's free money. If you get an artifact, also free money. Limbo seals are at least 2 Deboreka rings, so you know, I would say you could get like Kabuas and normal embers normally. I think on average you're probably making like 1.2 bill an hour, assuming you sold everything. And with Agris, I think it's very solid. So the chance of you getting very high value items here, I think in my about like 60 hours here total, I've gotten 2 artifacts. I've gotten 0 flames, but I've gotten a bunch of embers and Kabua's artifacts. They didn't add the limbo seals till after I was done with the spot, so I don't know about that one. But on average, it's an above average spot in general. Darkseekers. This is actually the place I grind a lot right now. Mostly because, one, I need the origins and stuff for upgrading Karazad stuff in the future. However, if you are looking for telescope pieces, this is also a good one. And also the value of everything. I do make around at least 2 bill an hour here on an average hour. Sometimes to make upwards 5 billion. Assuming I get lucky and get a lot of essences and, get a lot of event drops and everything. But I think my highest hour, I've gotten 9 essences and 1 origin. But that's a very special hour. But if you're looking for trash only, I think I get $1.5 billion off trash only, plus all the other bonuses you get on the side. So yeah, Darkseekers, if you have the gear for this spot, it's very good. All right, so with that said, we talked about all the recommended spots by Pearl Abyss, and I wanted to talk about some that aren't listed and spots that I've used. I'm like, oh, that's not that bad. So yeah, let's go down to AP list, and this should be pretty quick. Let me see. We talked about Centaurs. Let's see. Did we talk about the other ones? Okay, so Orc Camp. This one will drain your Agris really fast. It's not really a good one for Agris, but the spot is overall good. Hong Lim Base. I only have 5 hours here just because when they came out a few weeks ago, I'm just way over geared for this spot and I make more elsewhere. But I know this is overall a good spot. And if all you do is grind here, I think the number one rule of grinding with Agris is if you are only at one spot and you're going for something specific, it's always better to use Agris and instead of letting it max out at 100,000. So no matter what spot you're grinding, as long as you're not capping out, just use the Agris. So I think I need a little bit more testing with this one, but overall, I think it's pretty good, and if you're just grinding here, you might as well. Underground Gyfin. I think this actually uses 100k in an hour, which is not good. But we'll talk about that in another video. Honestly, in all these other spots, like the Dehkia ones, if you're going to grind there because you're going for a map piece or specific Deberekas, and you're just hard focused on one spot, yeah, just grind there. Dokkaebi Forest, I didn't need to do more testing on this one. I'm not really too sure. I have 3 hours here. I have 1 video. But last time I was there, I was kind of underwhelmed by, the amount of silver I got for a 730 gear score grind spot. Yeah, I think overall these are what the game recommended was, pretty accurate. A few other spots I've grinded. What was it? What is the Giants one? Hold on. What it was, the spot that's down here to Trolls. If you use Agris there, I think that's a solid one as well, actually. But yeah, once again, the number one rule is as long as you're not capping out your Agris, just use it at whatever spot. Obviously, the ones we talked about earlier that was recommended are probably the ones that, are more effective. And I guess the best way to look at it is probably if you were to use Agris on gathering, because you could use that, and how The life skill thingy, you can, what is this thingy? I think you could turn on and off. It's good to use it for gathering. So if I was gathering, how much silver would I make on top of what I normally do? The answer is probably like an extra 150 to 200 mil with Agris and 20k Agris on what I do. So no matter what, if you test a spot and you're making over like 200 extra mil using 20k Agris, I think the spot is overall good. And yeah, there's a lot more things, but I guess this video is a little bit easier to do because, you know, we're talking about something specific. So if you want to know what spots are good for silver in general, check the link in the description. I talked about that one in more detail, and I thought that was a very interesting one to watch. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Happy New Year. We're in 2025 now. And yeah, hopefully you guys make some games. You want to see what I've been up to lately? Failing Sep Sovereign. Yeah, 23 out of 50. That doesn't feel good. Each click is like 6 billion silver. Yeah, that doesn't feel good. So anyway, back to the grind we go. And hopefully you guys learn some stuff as well. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.